Okay, so we're recording. This is our live part of the Cooking with Oils class. I'm Beverly Jacobson, and I like to talk about ways that we can be fit for life in all areas: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And so we're just going to address a quick little bit of that with, I guess, physical health. But I get happy when I eat good food, so that's good. Mental and emotional health too, I guess. So we're talking about cooking with oils. And just a quick word about why would you want to cook with oils instead of the spices in your cabinet. And I just grabbed a few. I do still have a few. Honestly, most of them are for my college-age daughter who brought them home when she moved back home with us. But because if I have an oil, I use my oil. I'm not going to use there are very few times that I think, oh, I really need the dried thing instead. And reasons for that are, number one, the flavor burst is just so much more. One drop of oil can be anywhere from half a teaspoon to a tablespoon of something dried, or even more. So when we dry herbs or plants, the dried form of that means that we're losing about 70% of the plant's properties right there. So I think a lot of people decide that they like using fresh herbs anyways, as opposed to dried. So you do have the fresh herb option as well. And especially if you garden and you like to grow your own, that's really great. I loved using basil and parsley fresh from the farms in Italy when we lived there. But then also I run into the problem of, we have a big family and we do cook a lot, but not everybody likes everything. And so if I have a bunch, especially for us, it was the cilantro. There's certain dishes that I love cilantro in, and the fresh, I would use, enough for that dish, and then I couldn't use it fast enough. And so I felt like it was kind of a waste to get that bunch. So as I started to incorporate oils into our lives for other health reasons, I started to feel like, okay, maybe I can learn to cook with these too, because I finally learned how to put them into the diffuser and how to put them on my body and feel comfortable using them that way. And I guess I did use a few. So the lemon oil or orange oil, some of the citrus-based oils seemed easy to add to water, or I did put peppermint oil in my brownies. That was one of the first things I tried, which I've heard is a popular idea. Um, but getting into even the savory, and even with baking, I just wasn't quite sure how to go about doing it. So there is a conversion. I mean, and you can go by taste as well, but the rule of thumb is one drop is going to go so far. You don't need a whole lot. And so that's one reason is, I mean, look how much space in my cabinet 3 of these would take up, as opposed to, this sits on my fridge and has 8. But even if you're putting them in the counter or a cabinet, these just they're tiny. They don't take up a lot of space. You're only using 1 to 2 drops at a time, depending on what you're making. And the shelf life is a lot longer for the oils than even the dried stuff. After a while, it doesn't even have any flavor, and you kind of just have to start from scratch. And I would find that there were dried spices that I wasn't using fast enough, and it's you just have to keep shaking it in to get any sort of flavor. So those are the reasons. For us, it just became a matter of, okay, well, let's try this vitality oil, and then slowly we started replacing the dried stuff. As we ran out of it, we would get the oil that corresponded with it. So then, of course, there are the health benefits too. And if you have, I don't have mine, but your EOPR, your personal reference book, to look up the health benefits of those oils. Of course, if you're ingesting them and getting them into your body, then you have the therapeutic benefits as well. Now, with that being said, if you're cooking and using high heat, you will maintain the flavor. So the peppermint brownies have that wonderful peppermint flavor, but the temperature is such that the therapeutic benefits of them, they're gone. So you do need to know that you want to keep it low heat. So if you're simmering something, or if you're putting it, say, in a hot tea or hot beverage, some people put it in their tea, or a drop of oil into your coffee. You just don't want boiling water. I I meant to look this up before. It's either 105 degrees or 120 degrees, but either way, it's low heat. So if you're using it for sauces, so I use basil and oregano in our pasta sauce a lot, one or the other, or sometimes both. And let me tell you, it's powerful. Literally, like I'll have a big pot of our tomato sauce simmering, and 1 to 2 drops of basil and probably just 1 drop of oregano, because oregano is a powerhouse. So you can put it in while it's simmering and it'll make the house smell amazing, and just know that you're getting it for the taste, not necessarily the therapeutic benefits. If you want to keep some of the healthful benefits, you would just let that sauce come, you know, cool way down, and then put it in there. I figure I'm getting the benefits by the oregano goes on the bottom of my feet daily in our wellness blend. And so it's going in my body and it's helping with all that, the wonderful antiviral, anti stuff, right? That it's fighting the yuck for me. And so I don't mind if I'm simmering it. It just really depends on what you're using it for. Cilantro and cumin I'm loving for any, you know, guacamole. I haven't made salsa in a while, but those are really great. So those, of course, are not going to be cooked. And so I'm also going to be ingesting the therapeutic benefits of those. So I have you might already have this, but this conversion chart, I'll put a picture of this in our Fit for Life group. But this is a magnet that I've made, and it's a gift. If you've got non-essential rewards, you should have gotten one of these from me. So if you don't have one, let me know, because I do have extras, and I like to send those out as a little, yay, you're on essential rewards. Congratulations for making, you know, your health a priority. But just as an example, basil, 1 drop of basil is like half a teaspoon of the dried herb. And then some of them, you can't even do a full drop because it's so potent. So for oregano, you do like a toothpick swirl. You dip a toothpick in the bottle and then swirl that in your sauce. Or cilantro is like that for me. 1 drop of cilantro, I will do for maybe 5 avocados for my guacamole. I mean, it's so potent. So if it's like a 3 avocado batch, then I'll do a toothpick swirl, because it really is powerful. Cumin might be like 1 drop for a teaspoon of dried. So it's very, very concentrated, and you don't need very much. So I think, I just had a list of some things people okay, I do have a couple more things. So you can put them in casseroles, soups, marinades, salsa, sauces, guacamole, baked goods, and teas. Are just a kind of some broad categories. But also, as far as the value, and also just to reiterate the difference, the white labels are the Vitality ones. These are going to be your 5 milliliter bottles. But many of these you can get in the 15 milliliter, the bigger size. So when you're upgrading the size, you don't have the Vitality label, but it's the exact same oil. So I can still cook with the 15 milliliter bottle of oregano. It doesn't have to be Vitality, because the inside is the exact same oil. It's just a labeling thing to let you know that that's one of the ones that is safe for us to ingest. And it's much more cost efficient to get the 15 milliliter bottle than the 5. Some of them, though, like I don't think we have 15 mil of the cilantro or parsley or some of those other ones. Okay, I think that's kind of all the notes that I had. Do you have any questions or anything you want to chat about related to that?
I have a question, Beverly. I think, so that's true for even the thieves' tea, I presume, to make sure that we're not overheating it. I probably have been.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I do hot tap water. Our tap water is okay to drink, and it gets really hot, but it's not going to come out boiling, obviously. So I'll just do that rather than bring it to a boil, you know, and try to figure out to let it, because I can still put my finger under the hot water And it's just, I drink it pretty quickly. I don't linger over it because it'll form fast. Yep. Good point.
So sorry.
It's okay.
This isn't cooking, but it made me think of something when we're talking about ingesting and just using the Vitality oils. People who put them in the clear capsules.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Share with me. Share with me.
Okay. So a lot of people make their own capsules for various supportive measures. So it's, here the trees are blowing and stuff is blooming. And so if you're having some seasonal issues, lemon, lavender, and peppermint, the LLP is kind of one of those famous, to make the allergy balm that they would say, 4 drops of each in an empty capsule. And then you can pop that, and you can take it frequently if you're really fighting something off. And some people get to where if they take one as soon as they get up in the morning, they're good. So you kind of can gauge what you need. There was a time when I needed to boost my milk supply when I was nursing, and so there's fennel, which I did not think about, and I rubbed right there, and it was a little much for me. So probably would have been better to make capsules for that one. I will say I learned a tip just recently that because some people can't deal with the capsules because then they start burping up the oils. So you're supposed to take it with a good fat. So eat avocados or walnuts along with it. And that will help with that.
Do you put a diluent? Do you put a diluent or like a V6, or do you put some type of oil in with the capsule when you mix it up, or just straight oil?
Yeah, it depends. So yeah, I will try to fill whatever my oils are that I want to ingest. And then I will fill the rest up with the carrier oil, coconut oil or V6. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
So otherwise, too, if there's too much air in the capsule, then that causes more gas as well. So, yep.
I was interested in this class too because I've tried to cook a few times with my oils, and I wasn't for sure how much to use.
Mm-hmm.
I did find that I had one of those. I think Taryn might have sent it to me. One of the things that had the breakdown. I finally found that. I thought, well, I think I do have this, and it tells you to put dip the toothpick in there. And I thought, it's so hard to learn which oils to use and how to change from using a spice to an oil. Right. I'm so used to taking that spice on there.
Yeah. Yes. And it was kind of a slow transition for me as well. I started to realize I have this now. I mean, cinnamon, I will still sprinkle the powdered cinnamon over my applesauce because cinnamon's pretty powerful, and 1 drop can probably do a lot more than my little bowl of applesauce that I want to have.
It's overwhelming.
That's something I still do have in powdered form. But if I'm doing a batch of, banana bread, something like that, I can just do a few drops as opposed to 4 teaspoons. That's a lot.
But you find that it's just as good. The oils are just as good, if not better, than the spice.
Yep. The taste has been amazing. And we love guacamole at our house. And cumin, I felt like I was buying a bottle of cumin every time I turned around. And I started to think, is it really, I know it's expensive for a bottle. I looked some of them up. Rosemary is only $7.75, and that one I actually did it was not scientific because I had to eyeball. I only had maybe 3.5 tablespoons of rosemary, so I was trying to see how many tablespoons would be in this container. And as near as I can tell, for that one, the oil may actually be less expensive than the spice. But for some of the other ones that I was trying to compare, I think cost-wise, for as many bottles as you're going to go through that are going to equal there's about 85 to 90 drops in one bottle, depending on the viscosity, how thick the oil is. So when you think in terms of, okay, I probably only need 1 drop of this particular oil for most of my recipes, that's like 90.
And you don't have to worry
90.
about getting old. Like I'm like you, some of my stuff, it sits in your cabinet and it gets old and dried out and it's
And you end up away anyway.
Right.
yeah.
So the only oils that we need to be at all concerned about as far as length of time would be the cold pressed oils, the citrus oils, lemon, orange, grapefruit, bergamot, lime. Those do have a shelf life because of the cold pressing as opposed to the steam distillation. The steam distilled ones, as long as they're stored, properly, they're gonna last you literally for years. So you don't need to worry about those.
Oh, really? How long on the cold pressed ones?
Good question. I didn't say that. About a year. So
I go through way faster than
I
that.
know. I don't even, I don't think about it a lot of times because I'm constantly going through lemon and lime goes in our guacamole and all of that. That's our guac, we have lime. Sometimes I've used citrus fresh in addition to lime as well.
Mhm.
And then the cumin and the cilantro. So,
Okay.
yep. For lime, I do about a drop of lime per avocado, and that works for us. But a lot of that's one of those things that's to taste. But yeah, I thought I had another thought, but I think I lost it.
I've cooked with the lemon and the lime, and I feel like the flavor is so much better.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely. I mean, we have lemon juice for a couple purposes. We make our mayonnaise and our salad dressing, and the juice, the acidic part of it is needed for some of that to mix well together. But for our lemon chicken, there have been times I was out of lemon juice and I thought, well, I've got lemon oil, why not try that? Sure enough, tastes really good.
It works.
Yeah.
And I've read the other day, I was reading something and I remember reading it. I was really surprised that it was just the label. And I was glad you mentioned that the label was the only thing. It was the FDA or somebody required them to put the different label, vitality label on there, but the other oils are the same. And that's a good I thought, hey, that's great that you can actually, because I thought my vitality oils up until this last week were different, but they're not any different other than the label. And it's mainly, I guess, just to tell you these are the only oils that you can ingest.
Exactly. And it is something that a lot of times those of us that have used oils for a while, we kind of forget that not everybody knows that. We try to make sure that we mention it when we have opportunity, like a class like this, when we're talking about ingesting oils, just so you know, if you want to, get the better deal for that 15 ml bottle, go for it because you can absolutely ingest those.
Well, I had some of the other oils. I thought I need to order this in Vitality so I have this to cook with. Yeah. And I thought, well, no, I've got that. I've got it in this other, so I do have it already. And I didn't realize that until the other day. So that kind of helped me out a little bit on that.
Good. Yeah. Very good. I did think of one other little tip or whatever. There are certain things like, for example, I was going to do cooked carrots on the stove. I'd just like to cook them up in coconut oil. And I used to sprinkle the dried thyme seasoning. So for something like that, and you really only need 1, maybe 2 drops, what I might do is melt my coconut oil first and put the couple of drops of the essential oil in, whether rosemary is really good with that too, and then stir that with the coconut oil and then pour that in the pan. So it's kind of a little bit more mixed rather than a few carrots getting 1 drop, like a really big burst. And then the same thing we have a pulled pork recipe that uses several of the things, thyme and black pepper. There might be another one, I can't remember. But I could use my oils instead of the dried seasonings. So again, put a little bit of olive oil with those in there and then rub the I put the essential oils on first, and then the paprika and garlic powder, then I'll go back with that and rub that on top. So there's a way to do it on your meats as well if you're preparing a rub, so that it's not like concentrated.
Understand.
Yep.
Well, I look forward to cooking more with them. It's
Good.
a learn. There's a learning curve to it
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep. Well, I hope this has been helpful, answered a few
It has.
questions, and maybe inspired you. And we'll maybe we can start collecting some recipes.
Recipes,
Put
yes.
'em in a-
Maybe we could write a cookbook for recipes with essential oils.
Mhm.
We could. I'm sure such things are out there too. But I should, there's a lot that I've just tweaked over the years as I've looked at different things and thought, oh, okay, I don't have this dried spice anymore. Let's see what it tastes like with this. So my guacamole recipe card, like I'm the only one that really knows how to interpret it anymore, because half of the stuff we don't use anymore. And it's like, oh, you need oil. Well, how much oil? I really need to just write it down. So it's evolved. All right, ladies, I'm going to stop the recording.